Hi everyone, it's Daniel McCabe here at GI Energy. I'm just here in my office, in our head office in Brisbane, and I'm just about to post an article on the rising cost of solar panels, and I just wanted to do a really quick video to support that article and explain why, if you're getting solar quotes right now, you've probably heard and seen that the cost of those quotes is going up quite quickly, and you've probably also seen or been told to expect there to be some stock shortages coming up in the next 3 to 6 months. So I wanted to explain why that's happening. As a bit of a background, I was in Harvey Norman furniture store last weekend looking at some sofas, and the girl in there told me that if I was to order one today, you'd be waiting around 6 months for it to be delivered. And if you order in the next couple of weeks, you'll probably be okay, but from there, costs are probably going to go up by about 25%. I'm also building a house at the moment, and cost of the wooden frame has increased by about 25%, and it's probably going to be 6 months until we actually see that order arrive, maybe longer. That's just two examples. I know if some of you have been out to try and purchase a car or any big ticket item really at the moment, you've probably experienced similar feedback. I know that some new vehicles are taking 6 to 8 months to arrive, and certainly if you go in asking for a deal, it's not like it was a year or 18 months ago. There's very few discounts to be had, and unfortunately across the board, across many sectors, there's quite steep cost increases. But to get back to the point and to keep it with solar power, I just want to explain to you why that's happening here. So I think you probably, if you're the same as me and you looked into your crystal ball 18 months ago, you probably would have thought that costs of everything would have gone down 18 months after our first lockdowns. Obviously that's not the case. So one of the reasons why solar panels have gone up so much since the beginning of this year, the cost of silicon has increased significantly. In fact, if you go back about 12 months, silicon was at its cheapest it had ever been. Now, if you look at the cost of silicon today, you're up about 300%. So silicon obviously is a raw material that is involved heavily in quite a few of the components to make a solar panel, and that cost has gone up dramatically. That doesn't mean that your solar panel cost has gone up by 300%. Obviously, that's just one of the materials and one of the elements that attribute the whole cost of a solar panel, but that's one of the significant raw materials, and as I say, cost has gone up by 300%, which is by a long way the quickest increase in the history of silicon prices, which naturally, as any raw material, do fluctuate. Secondly, and significantly, the cost of freight for anything coming from overseas has increased massively, from as much as I've seen people paying as little as $1,600 to get a container shipped to Australia, and as high now for non-dangerous goods. The cost has gone up to as much as about $13,000, so that's a massive increase in cost. The reason the cost has increased that much is basically just a global demand for goods to be shipped has increased as economies open up around the world after lockdowns, and essentially, to be put it in a nutshell, there's just not enough containers and not enough boats on the water to supply demand, and different regions are suffering differently. Some really large companies, most notably in the States, are purchasing huge portions of containers that are available, and basically that means that the rest of us are left to fight over what's left. So we just can't get goods into the country quick enough, basically, and as a result, the costs have spiraled to a point now where they're as high as I've ever seen them, and unfortunately, there's no end in sight as far as we can see, or as far as our suppliers can see. Another factor is if you've been reading the news in the last couple of weeks, certainly in the last few days, you would probably be aware of what's being called a global energy crisis, affecting large regions across the world, and China is one of those regions that has been affected quite significantly. And some of the regions within China that have been affected more than others are heavy industrial areas that produce lots of the parts that are needed to make a solar panel. So because there's not enough energy, there's large restrictions on production capacity for factories, and some are operating at a really low percentage of their capability, which means that, again, to be really basic and put it in a nutshell, they just can't produce what they normally can. So if they don't have the electricity supply to run their production lines, then they simply can't manufacture what they normally can. So we're entering a period in time now with solar panels in our industry, which is the last quarter of the year, and that's always the most busy because the price of the value of government rebates in the new year will decrease. So typically we see a surge in volume leading up till the end of the year, and just as that surge is about to happen, manufacturers are shipping way less. In fact, some of the largest manufacturers in the world, I won't mention names, but have said that they're not shipping any more solar panels now. And what are we today? Is the 12th of October, and they're not shipping any more panels until the new year. So that has a huge impact on availability. Demand will outstrip supply quite quickly, which means prices will go up, unfortunately. And just to be clear, that's not GI Energy or any other solar retailers putting up their prices. That's just a knock-on effect right the way through, from factories through to freight lines, through to us, through to the end customer. So we're not increasing our margins because there's more demand and less supply. They will always stay the same, but our costs will have to increase as that effect runs through to us and then to the end customer. The Australian dollar is also very low at the moment. I think as I'm recording this, we're at 73 cents. And if you go back to February this year, we're at 80 cents against the US dollar. So when we're purchasing, or when anybody is purchasing international goods, the transaction takes place in US dollars. When the Australian dollar is weaker, that means the cost ultimately goes up. So that's also contributing towards the overall price increase. So that might all sound like doom and gloom, and I'm sorry I'm not giving you a more positive video today, but that's the reality of what we're seeing right now. And as you're listening to this, or as you're reading the article that supports it, you might be thinking to yourself, I'm going to wait. And that is a natural reaction, is let's wait until this sorts itself out and things go back to normal. Unfortunately, I can't tell you when things will go back to normal. And the example that we've put in the article is if you were to wait 6 months and you wanted a 13 kilowatt system on your home, you're going to miss out on about $1,600 of potential power savings on your energy bill in that time. Additionally, you'll be subject to 2022 government rebate, which is about $677 less than a 2021 rebate. So combined there, you're missing out on a significant part of the value of that solar system, and obviously missing out on a fairly large chunk of that government rebate as well. So waiting is probably not the best thing to do. I think we're predicting that in the next few weeks, probably early November, we will have filled up all of our spaces for installs for the rest of the year, meaning that any orders taken after that will be subject to next year's government subsidies, which on that 13 kilowatt system is $677 less. So the reason for us putting this video out is to give you a little bit of information. You can now obviously go and do more due diligence and look into this more thoroughly yourself online if you wish to, or obviously pick up the phone or send us an email, and we're happy to give you more info. The purpose of doing this is not to tell you quickly run out and get your order signed right now, but just make an informed decision and know that this is what's happening out there in the industry. I'm sure you'll hear this from our competitors as well, and I'm sure you've heard it in other sectors if you're looking to buy big ticket items elsewhere. So please do get in touch, and this is changing weekly, so we're having to react as we get forecasted stock volumes and prices coming in. So please stay in touch, if you're serious about getting solar panels installed before the end of the year, my advice would be to try and make a decision pretty quickly. As soon as we're getting an order placed from a customer, whether it residential or commercial, we're placing that order with suppliers and essentially manufacturers. So we're doing everything we can to lock in prices as soon as we get commitments from customers, and really that's the best way that we can tackle this. Is if you have a quote from us or you want a quote from us, get in touch. We'll make sure that the price is valid, and we'll keep it valid as long as we can, and as soon as you give us a commitment, we'll lock things in, and then we can lock in an install date for you whenever you're ready, essentially, and just make sure that you're not subject to any further increases. So I hope you found this helpful. We're in a very strange time at the moment. I don't know, as I said, when, if ever, costs will go back to normal. We have never seen an increase like this in our industry before. We've been lucky enough to have costs decrease fairly significantly right the way from 2012 really up until now, with a couple of little bumps in the road. So this is the first time in this industry we're seeing a significant increase. So I guess we've had a good run, and solar panels are still a very, very good value proposition. At the prices we're quoting today, you can still get return on investments of 20 to 35%, which is still very, very, very good. Yeah, as I say, I hope this has been helpful. I'll leave it at that, and if you'd like to get in touch with us, we'll speak to you soon. Thank you.